AI keeps getting Shopify JavaScript wrong, and I'm going to show you exactly how to prompt it so it doesn't. You'll notice this lovely section here that fades in on load, and essentially it is actually working technically, but it is using bad JavaScript practice. And if we go over into cursor here, which you don't necessarily need to use cursor, you can also just use this code directly in Claude, and I'll also leave a description to the paste bin in the link of this YouTube video. But back inside of cursor here, you'll notice that although it is working, it's actually using a bad practice. It's using this thing called setTimout, which is essentially waiting for a certain amount of milliseconds to perform the action, which isn't good. What we actually want to do, if I go back here, is use DOM content loaded. And so when you're writing your JavaScript, what you should do is always start with this snippet here, DOM content loaded, or you should let the AI know that you want to use DOM content loaded. And essentially what DOM content loaded does is it waits for the DOM or the page to load before running some sort of action. Whereas the setTimout is just essentially counting down, and on slow networks that will cause some issues. Within this updated code here that doesn't have setTimout, you'll notice that it has this query selector which looks for the ID. This is also a poor practice. What we want to do is typically inspect the DOM first and find different elements on the page. So inside of my Shopify site here, if I go and right click and inspect, you'll notice here that I have this Shopify section over here, and there is a unique identifier on it for the ID. What I want to do is reference that ID because it is unique to this element. But the issue is that since we wrapped it in these JavaScript tags, we actually can't necessarily reference the unique ID, which is found over here. So what we're going to have to do is use something called a data attribute. So I'm going to delete this line here and paste this in. Now what we can do is reference the section by data attribute, and we can feed in the unique ID. And what we can say inside of cursor is reference the data section ID. Now cursor will do its magic, and we are going to keep the changes here and hit save. And you'll notice now we're referencing data section ID, which is awesome. Let's make sure that our section is still working. Awesome, it's working wonderfully. So now we're doing a few things perfectly. We're using DOM content loaded, we're referencing the data section ID attribute over here. But the last thing that I really want to explain is that if you're just mindlessly copying this and then pasting this into Claude or trying to write AI JavaScript, you're gonna get mistakes, and it's probably because you just don't know where to look. So what I've done in the past before the days of AI is use console log to try to figure out what's going wrong with my JavaScript. So what we'll want to do is first make sure that we're grabbing the correct query selector. So what we can actually do is put console.log section, and if we hit save, we can go over into console. You'll notice this one here called node list, and that is our section. We're grabbing the correct section. So you can always test to try to figure out if you're grabbing the correct section or not using console log. Now, if you don't necessarily know how to use console log, you can also use AI to figure that out. So if we go back over into cursor, what you can always do is type in the test that you want to run. So for example, let's check to see when our fade visibility class is added into our section. So I'm going to type in create a console log to check when our fade in class is added, and then I'll keep my change, and it's added in this console log to check when the fade in is added. So we're going to hit save and then go over into the console. Now you'll notice that the fade in class is added, and it shows you on exactly which element it's added on. So now instead of trying to debug your code by just saying not working to Claude or cursor, you can actually run small tests using console log to figure out if something is going wrong and use the AI to help you debug. Anyways, if you found this video useful, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, do all the things. And anyways, I'll catch you next week. Cheers.